A lot of the time, comic book companies create characters that should just go away forever. But sometimes the weird characters that don't stick around are the ones we want the most. And there are more than a few weird ones on this list. I'm Adam Andrews, and today on Top 10 Nerd, we're going through the top 10 mysterious superheroes who need a comeback. Number 10, Herbie the Fat Fury. Who the heck is Herbie the Fat Fury? Yes, exactly. Herbie Popnecker was a dopey, big, lazy, emotionless kid who always looked like he was on the verge of falling asleep, and he was always sucking on lollipops. Now these lollipops were actually part of what made him a superhero, and a pretty powerful one at that. These magical lollipops from the unknown basically allowed him to do anything, but he also had some genetic powers, some of which included heat vision, invisibility, talking to animals, flight, and honestly, through the lollipops, whatever else the story called for. He was known throughout the universe, was irresistible to women, and yet neither of his parents knew he had powers, with his dad even treating him like absolute garbage, which is funny considering his dad was actually the garbage one. This kid was consulted by world leaders, so shut up, Dad. Ugh. Number 9, Kid Eternity. Christopher Kit Freeman was a kid in the DC universe. After his death, it was realized that he actually passed about 75 years before it was actually his time. Because of this, the wizard Shazam fixed the mistake of Mr. Keeper, the one who decides when people die, and decided to bring Christopher back. But as a little oops, sorry for ending your life, Chris learned that he had gained the ability to call on the spirits of the deceased. He says the word eternity and he is transformed into his hero form and can summon the dead as well as gods, mythological, legendary, and even fictional characters, which is really cool. He also has a ghostly form that can go invisible and fly. He has a modern day iteration with similar power set, except he was a coroner and came back to use his powers as a detective, but he really hasn't been featured all too much, and I think this character has some pretty good potential, so let's see it happen, okay? Alright. Cool. Number 8, Night Thrasher. Night Thrasher of Marvel Comics is Dwayne Michael Taylor, and he's basically Batman by any other name. His parents were dispatched right in front of him, he is ultra rich, and he only comes out at night as his name might have suggested. He's also the leader of the New Warriors, which is apparently due for a new series. You may have heard of the New Warriors. They were that group of heroes who basically were the cause of the Stamford, Connecticut incident that caused the Superhuman Registration Act and the Superhuman Civil War. It appeared that Night Thrasher had passed on because of that incident, but that weren't true. He's been around in a very minor aspect since that, and even appeared in a Punisher story in 2019, but as an allegory of Batman, he should be able to do a lot more. Number 7, Brother Power. Brother Power is not truly a living person. No. He came about in the 1960s when a small group of hippies living in an abandoned tailor shop put an old suit on a mannequin, and for some reason, a combination of rain, dust, and the heat from a radiator, plus a lightning strike, brought the mannequin to life with powers including energy absorption, electroblasts, molecular reconstruction, super strength, durability, and object animation. Brother Power defended the hippies from a gang, and they taught Brother Power about music and chemistry. He was also kind of trained to be a pacifist. His last major appearance was back in 2009, and I think he's due for a return. Number 6, Dupe. How often do we get a character like this? I'll tell you, not often. This bumpy looking weird bean thing was the product of a Cold War US military experiment and was instrumental in the fall of the Soviet Union, somehow, but no one ever actually explains that. So that's one reason to bring him back, to explain that. Please. Dupe is unable to learn English, and as such, he speaks in a language all of his own that everyone somehow can understand. I'm assuming this is some form of telepathy, I really don't know. But according to Captain America, the US government created him in a secret weapons project. But apparently, he also comes from a place called Marginalia, the world between worlds, and a place that begins where the story ends, quote unquote, whatever the hell that means. I couldn't tell you. The most surprising thing is his list of powers. It is long. He has possible omniscience, he's strong and durable enough to defeat Thor, he can heal from super serious wounds in seconds and resurrect himself, he has blinding speed, size alteration, energy projection, psionic fire, blasts, and shields. He can perform dupish magic and has the power of the funk. Oh, and I almost forgot. Dupe's body contains a nightmare dimension known as Dupe Land, and he is able to access it by turning himself inside out. All of this from a lima bean with arms. Cool. Number 5, Sasquatch. You know, As much as Marvel kind of tries to give Canada their own superhumans, with Wolverine and Alpha Flight, it always feels like we're kind of left at the wayside a little bit. Take Sasquatch for example. He's basically a hairy, less cool Canadian Hulk. After learning of how Banner got turned into the Hulk, Dr. Walter Lankowski began working on his own gamma radiation experiment to make a Hulk, but without having to expose himself to an entire explosion. He turned himself into a massive fur-covered beast and went rampaging until he was helped by Shaman and Snowbird to gain control of his personality and intelligence when in Squatch form. Now, he has a bit more of an involved history than a few characters on this list, especially recently with the Immortal Hulk story. But I still think most people don't think of him when thinking of even Hulk-related heroes, and that needs to change. He's cool, damn it. Number 4. The MAXX. The MAXX was a comic by Image Comics, and basically, a social worker named Julie has a very traumatic experience after trying to help a homeless man. Because of that, when she accidentally hits another homeless man with her car, she decides to just cover his body in trash. Now, due to her traumatic experiences, she began taking psychological refuge in an alternate dimension called the Outback inside her own mind. The garbage that she covered the homeless man in touches with this Outback reality, and a purple lampshade expands over the homeless man's body and turns him into this crazy looking purple stinky Pez eating hero. It's kinda nuts. The MAXX has no idea of his and Julie's connection, but in the Outback world he is her protector, and in the real world he is more of a homeless vagrant still. His only real power is crazy super strength, but I think it's a really crazy concept that could use more exploring. Number 3. The Question. DC Comics is full of detective-like mysterious characters, but what better mysterious character to talk about than The Question. Specifically, I want to talk about Renee Montoya, who took over after Vic Sage, who passed away during the events of 52. Question has a vendetta against the religion of crime, and she is an ally to Batman. Neither she or her mentor had any real powers. They were both just skilled detectives, and they wore a mask made of a skin-like material called pseudoderm, which basically made them look like they had no facial features. So like no mouth, no nose, no eyes, no eyebrows, no ears, nothing. Honestly kind of terrifying, but hey, who am I to judge? Renee as Question hasn't really been doing much recently, and honestly her mentor was a bit more interesting, having a whole philosophical crisis and all that. But I'll be damned if they aren't a cool and interesting looking character who I want to see more of. Number 2. Freakazoid. Have you ever watched this show? Such an utterly bizarre character, and it came around when I honestly think superhero cartoons were at their greatest. His powers included the ability to have all the knowledge of the internet, which honestly explains why he is literally insane. He is also super strong in varying degrees, and he has moved at the speed of light. But honestly, he has the way better power of cartoon physics, which is an easy way of saying he can break the laws of physics and reality, honestly, in hilarious ways to defeat enemies and just mess with people. He also seems to be aware he isn't a cartoon because he breaks the fourth wall all the time. The show has been gone for a while, and part of me really wants a comeback, while another part of me thinks modern showmakers would kind of just ruin it. What do you think? And coming in at number 1, it's Matter Eater Lad. When an alien race has all their food infected by microbes, they evolve to be able to eat unlimited amounts of any other form of matter to survive instead. Naturally. This alien race are native to the planet Bismol, and this is where Legion of Superheroes member Tenzil Kem, better known as Matter Eater Lad, hails from. The 15th member to join the Legion, Matter Eater Lad has an ability you just wouldn't think would be useful. But you would be wrong. Like, imagine you get stuck inside somewhere. He could eat a way out for you guys. Imagine a giant asteroid was on its way to Earth. He could eat that. Imagine someone fires an energy blast at you. He could intercept it with his mouth and eat that. He can eat through literally anything due to his digestive enzymes that he and everyone of his race produces. Thanks to comic books, this ability has become more and more useful in very random ways. For example, Bismolians don't possess any other superpowers, really. But the ability to eat tons and tons of anything and digest it in literally seconds apparently translates into food energy that can give them super speed, as an example. He is utterly ridiculous and kind of disturbing, but with him being mentioned in Peacemaker, the show, I think it's time for a comeback. And there you have it, you little nerds. Who are some heroes you think deserve a comeback? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe too while you're here. I've been Adam Andrews. You can find my socials down below. And until next time, nerds, peace. Peace out.